Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great and welcome to week 5 practical. Today, the topic is managing state through sessions. Now, if you scroll down, these are the objectives. The first one is going to be theory. I will discuss that in the theory part. However, I'm going to talk about HTTP session object, which is like number 2. And I'm going to talk also about number 4. I might make a separate video for this as well. But right now, let's just focus on how to use HTTP session object and how to use a hidden fields inside forms. Okay, now the first thing we're going to talk about HTTP session object. Now, I have created an object like here a project called Week5. This Week5 is very simple. Like you can do that by yourself very quickly. I just like want to save time. Has a welcome file page called first.jsp. Like if you just need to know how do we create a welcome file page, just go to week 4, for example, or week 3. You will see that the steps in details if you forget any of them. Now this first.jsp is very simple. Now who is responsible for the welcome file page? Go to web.xml. See like welcome file is going to be sent to home. Now who's responsible for home? Home.servlet. Okay, like servlet.home servlet. This actually means there is a package called servlet, and inside it there's a home servlet. This is the package called servlets. This is the one that I created, and inside it I have home servlets. This is very simple servlets. I have nothing here. I just have a do-get and do-post, and the do-get is actually taking me to first.jsp, which is this page. Now, let me just run that, and I will talk about the form later. Let's just run it. And here we go. Now we got this page and like enter your text and then save your text. That's all. Now this is the form that we have, by the way, because here I just have a form. This form has a text here and then an input. And this input type is text. And the name of this is text. Okay. And now here I have a button and the value of the button is save your text. That's everything that we have right now. Now, what I want to do is the following. I want to, for example, let's go back just to compare. Like, for example, I just want to like enter a letter A, okay, A, and then when I say save your text, I want to see this here on like below this button. And then if I enter B here, I save my text. I want to A be concatenated with B, and then I will have something like AB. Okay, like AB. Now AB should appear on the like here, but like below this text. If I say C and say save your text, what will happen? I will take the previous data and then concatenate to it C and say ABC. Like then below this, I should see ABC. Now, if you see that, we need actually to use a session to keep a track of the data because I need to keep a track of the previous data. Like the first time I had A, then how can I remember that I had A? Then next time I had an AB. Now, how can I remember that I have an AB or ABC? Now, if I added D, like how can I remember? Like, okay, you know that I'm sending you to D, but how you can get this data from where? Where are you storing this? In a file? No, we are not going to store this in a file. We are going to store this in a session. Now, let's see how this is going to work. The first thing that I want to do is this. It's actually just to print the letters that we are sending, like just make it very simple right now. What I will do is the following. Let's go here, is a home servlet, because this is actually, this form is sending data to action home, which means to home servlet, and to which method? To get method. That means we are using the same method 2 times. First time with the green button and the next time with this form. And we don't care, yeah? Like we can just we can use the same method for different reasons at the end of the day. Now, what I want to do is this. I just want to say string, and I would just want to read the data that I'm sending, like just say text. And then here, the text, I will say, for example, request dot get parameter. And here I will say, what's the name of the input? Remember that the name of the input is also text, okay? Like I can just take it and yeah. Now, the first thing that I want to make sure that I'm not reading nothing, like I'm not reading null. I just want to say if text not equal null. If it's not equal null, right now, I just want to do this. I just want to print that on the console. And I just want to say sample this, just to make sure that we are reading the data right now. And you will see that, no, we will update that and we will start working with this. Now, let's save it. And let's go back here and say A and save your text. Now we see nothing here, but if we go to output, then Apache Tomcat, the third one, And here we go. We got A. Let's enter B, for example, and say save your text. I got B. That means I'm able to read the data. Now, someone might think like, okay, let's, for example, send this data to set attribute. And yeah, I'm going to call this as, let's say, new text. Okay. And this new text, I will send this text to which page? To first to JSP. And I will save here, like I'll say here, just say H3. And yeah, let's close it, say new text as, and then here, say the variable that I'm sending, which is new text. Okay. Okay, I can like just say received, something like that. Just don't want to confuse you. Okay, now if I save this, if I run this again, you will see that the first time I received nothing. There is no data. But if I enter like A, for example, see, I got A. But now the problem that what I don't need, for example, A then B. Now they all keep updating, but I need them to actually concatenate A with B, and I want to see AB. And then if I enter C, I want to see ABC. But the problem, because HTTP is stateless, they will never remember that what was the previous data is, and therefore we should use sessions. Okay, this is the reason why actually we're going to use it. Like instead of saying request here, actually we will use session instead of request. But now how we actually going to be able to use this? In the first place, you should say HTTP session. Now control space to import this, and I'm going to call this as session. Now how to get the session? You just say request dot get session. And yeah, in this case, I got the session from the request. I can add any data to it. I can store data. And remember, if I store the data, I can remember that. Now, the first thing that I want to do is this. I just want to ask the session for the previous data. Like I just want to say string, and I would like, I'm going to just call this as a previous text. And I will ask the session if he has a text for that. Let's say this is going to be get attribute, and I will ask you, do you have the new text with you? Or not? Now you might be saying, okay, wait a second, this is might be the first time. Oh, okay, let's solve the first problem. The first problem, anytime is that you are going to use a session with get attribute, you need to cast this to the type of the variable that you have. For example, here I have a string that I should say cast this to string. This is the first step that you need to do. And now you might be wondering, what if the session.get attribute, they don't have new text? Like they don't have any new text. This is the first time that they see this new text thing. Yes, you need always to check. You should say, okay, the previous text equal null. If this was the case, like let's say this is the first time that we go to the do get, this is gonna be null. Therefore, I'm gonna say previous text is equal empty. Okay, this is how I read it. Like I read that if the session has no idea about what does the new text means, I'm just gonna say, okay, it's an empty text because it's null. Okay, now because we have this data right with us, okay, now what I can do actually, the new text, instead of passing a request, I'm gonna store this in the session. Okay, now I'm saving the data. Set attribute is with the session, it means like save the data. Now, the data that I will save here, I will name it a new text. Okay, now what I will save here, see, let's say that the previous text, like let's say the value of the previous text, it was AB. Okay, and let's say the new data that I entered, which is here, the text is C. Now, what is going to be saved here? I want to save the previous text plus text. Okay, what does that? How can I read it? I can read this as this. The previous text value is AB. Concatenate to it, like the plus sign means concatenate. Okay, and here's C, for example. As you can see, this is AB. Like the session will remember that, oh, the new text was AB. Okay, thank you. And the new text that I'm getting from this input here, like the input from this field is equal to C. Therefore, if you need to concatenate them, you could say AB plus C, and that's all. Okay. Now, if you need to change these names, like you can change the names or something like that. But at the end of the day, remember that the session will remember, will remember the data, and the will remember the data. Uh, remember the data for me. And for example, they remember that, oh, the data was AB, for example. And then this input, they say, okay, this user entered C. Okay, I just need to concatenate them and I will update the new text because remember here, new text return AB. Now I say, okay, set attribute to new text to be AB plus C, which actually would be like ABC. Okay, and now we just go to this page, which is first.jsp. Let's see if this is gonna work or not. Let's save it. I hope this is gonna work. After I save, let's go and say, yeah, say run. I'm gonna say A and save your text. Here we go. Now I save A. Let's see B. Wow, it works. Let's say C. And C works as well. Let's say D. Okay. I hope that you got the idea because now if I just close this and this, let me just run this again. They still remember me, but if I just close everything here, I just say A. Now what happened? Okay, the first thing, okay, when I click A, what happened? They come to this. What is the previous text? The previous text is no. Yeah, before we entered A, like when A was here, okay, when A was here and I click on save your text, the previous data was null. I remember that I don't need to work with null, therefore I make this string. Now, what is the text that I have here on the input? The text that I have here on the input is A. Now, what I will update the following. I will say the previous text. Now, the previous text, I set the value to be what? Empty string plus A, and now what we will have as A. And therefore I got an A. Now we can have a live one. Let's say B. Before I click on that, let's just imagine that I click on this button. What will happen? Here I will ask the session, can you give me your previous text, like the new text that you saved that before? And they're gonna say, oh yeah, we have this as A. Because remember, this is the data that is stored in the session, which is A. Do I need to set that to empty? No, because the previous text not equal to null. That's great. Now, what is the text that exists inside this input field, which is B? Okay, here we go. Now, is this equal to null? No, it's not equal to null. It's equal to B. And now what I will do, the previous text value is what? Is A, okay? And then plus B, what I would have here, AB. And therefore, if I click on this, I got AB. Now, let's do the last one. Yeah, let's see what will happen. Yeah. Now let's say I have C and just I want to click on this button. But before we click on that, just imagine that I have clicked on this. What will happen? We will go to the do get. We will get the session to work with it. And then I ask the session, do you remember the new text that you saved it to me before? He's gonna say, yeah, because remember that he saved that here, yeah? Like you saved that here. I'm asking him again, what did you save at that time? I'm gonna say, oh, I saved AB, not A, because see, he saved AB. And now I'm gonna say, is it null? No, it's not null. Therefore, I'm not gonna do this. This is just the first time when it's null, okay? Now, what is the data that will come from this input? Oh, it's C, okay, that's great. Now, text not equal to null. Yes, text not equal to null because the text is equal to C. Now, what we will do is very simple. Just say AB, which is the previous text data, plus the new text that I have it here, the input. I say AB plus C, which is now it's ABC. And now the session, as you can see, it's going to update the value of a new text. And now if I say this, yeah, you can actually keep going up until Z. It's endless example right now. Now, I just want to add an extra feature, which is actually would help us to learn new things. I closed that, but remember that I did to say this is like I want to learn about HTTP session and about using a different format at the same time. Like let's say that I have a different form inside first.jsp. And by the way, you can solve that using one form, but just because we need to learn a new thing, let's just imagine that I have here a break, and then I have a form. And let's see that this form is very weird. Why? This form is going to target the same method and the same page, like home, which is home servlet, and get as well. The button is going to be reset. Say, okay, let's just say reset your text. Reset your text. Now let's just run this. Now I have two buttons, one save, one reset. But remember, I say this is very weird. Why? Because this is home and this is get, and this is home and this is get. Now, if I go back to home servlet, I will go to this method again and again. Like, it doesn't matter if I click on save or reset, but how can I know which button I was clicking on? One of the uses of this is going to be input. Oh, I did space. Input. Now the type here is called hidden. I'm gonna like have a hidden value, and this is gonna be name. Like name it whatever you want. I'm gonna name this as an action. You can name this again, SAIT, ABC. It doesn't matter. Now the value, name it whatever you want. I'm gonna name this as reset. Just save it. Now, what will happen if I click on save? I don't have this value. There is nothing about that. Like if I ask, do you have the value of action? If I click on save, they will say, oh, action is equal null. I don't know action. If I click on reset your text, they will say, oh, action is equal to reset. Did you see that? Like how I can distinguish these two forms at the same page? They are accessing the same method. Now to do that on home servlet, it's very simple. We can actually, after doing this here, after we get the session, I would say string action, and then I say request dot get parameter, and then here I'm asking for what? I'm asking for the action. Now, why it's action? Because I name it action here. Yeah, I name it action. And yeah, remember that the first thing that I want to check, it's not equal to null. If it's not equal to null, and at the same time, the action that equals to what's the value? It's called reset. And now if it's not equal to null and the value is reset, what I should do? Now, if you go to the slides, you will see that we can actually invalidate a session. Okay, let's say that I want to destroy the session. Now, to do so, how to do that? It's very simple. Just say session. Therefore, like I have the session here on the first because I need to destroy it. Like, okay, like if you need to put that after the if statement, this doesn't work because I need the session to be here first. I get the session. I see, oh, you need me to destroy it. There's no problem. I just say invalidate. Okay. Now we have invalidated this, or we have, let's say, destroying this session, and we are not going to use this anymore. Now let's save it and let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, by the way, when I say invalidate, that means I'm gonna wipe up, like cleaning all data that we have. Let's just run this right now and say, oh, we still have it. I just want to just to close your browser to remove the cookies and say A, save your text, and say hey, B, save your text, and C, save your text, reset your text. We got this error. I know that we are going to get this, and I will tell you the reason why we are going to get this. And this is the message. Very easy. They are saying that, okay, you are doing that's great here. Like there's no problem here, but the problem is here. Why the problem is here? You are saying here, they are saying, okay, you are trying to get attribute for a session that is already invalidated. That means the session that I invalidated here, it's expired. And here I'm saying, oh, session.get attribute for the new text. But the problem that this session is now invalidated, is expired. Like I couldn't consume this. Now, how can I renew this after I destroy it or expire that? Very simple. Just say session equal request dot get session. This actually gives this a new date. Okay, this is not the same session. Okay, yes, I'm using the same variable at the same time. There's no problem. But as you can see, I'm filling a new value here. Like when I say request.get session, in this case, I'm getting a new session and they will never complain about that. Remember, when you invalidate your session, they will say, wait a second, you're invalidating your session and you want me to use an invalid session. I'm not going to use that. However, I'm solving this problem by getting a new session. Now let's save it. Let's go here and let's hope that's going to work. Okay, okay. I don't need to. I messed with that. Let's say here, A, save text. B, save it, C, save it, reset. It works. And see, the action is reset. Remember, this video was targeting HTTP session to get, to set, which is like update the value of the session, and to do also the action with a reset when we invalidate and we get a new session, a valid session to be used. And remember that when we say session.set attribute, this is the same as saying request.set attribute for the first.jsp. If you remember in week 4, we say this expression, EL language, expression language, when you say new text, they will actually start looking for the new text. They will go first to this page, like they will search, do we have a new text here? We don't have it. Then they will go to the request. Do we have it? No, we don't. Then they will go to the session. If they found that in the session, they're going to print that. Okay. If you have any problem, please watch the recorded lecture about week 4. We did discuss these 4 boxes that expression language used to search for. And as you can see, when I say session.set attribute, that means like in that session box, I'm setting a value or a variable called a new text. And this is the value, which is ABC. I hope this was clear, and you will see that we actually will use sessions in different ways, especially for login. This is the most important one. But remember that we need sessions to keep a track of data. Again, for the project, is going to be the most important thing is just to like keep the user logging in without asking him to enter his username and password again and again, because we need just to remember him and not forgetting him after the second request or something like that. Any question, please reach me out, especially in the lecture time. And yeah, see ya.